Mark's got the ball. That was the mighty death noise from the Sane Asylum. We opened the show up with right there from this man right here, Mark Biederman. How you doing, Mark?
How's it going, people?
It's going good, man.
Going good, man. You got the guitar that you've had forever that you haven't not let out of your sight.
This is actually a Nighthawk.
Oh, it's not the. Where's the Les Paul?
Look, it's an Epiphone Nighthawk, but it's a lovely bed guitar. You know, you can throw it around a bit. You know, it's not a Gibson.
Well, yeah, it's an Epiphone, so you can throw anything. Yeah, of course.
No, it's lovely. It's a lovely guitar, and it plays really nice. But I also have a Gibson Nighthawk that's Red Hot Mama, and that guitar is really sweet. It's got gold hardware.
And
it's got pickups. You know, look at it. Got the 3 pickups, but they're all different. Like this one is a mini humbucker, and then this one in the middle. Well, that's a Strat pickup right there, a single coil, and then you've got another double coil here, but it's going sideways like a Keith Richards guitar. You know.
Absolutely. Well, Mark, we want to thank you, for coming on the show, and everything. How have you been? It's been a minute since each of us have talked to you. So
this pandemic thing started 8 months ago, and we debuted Straight as the Crowbar Flies for the world.
Yeah. Well, Charles Lieber, right? Isn't that right? I think I might have the name wrong, so don't quote me. But never mind. The Coven of the COVID.
Yeah.
You bring up the COVID, and yes, in this present age of darkness, what I have taken upon myself is to ask Siri or the satellite girl in my phone questions, and I asked who was the person who actually invented the COVID-19, and they said that was Charles M. Lieber. So I've got a song, "The Coven of the COVID," and of course Charles M. Lieber will have all details on him.
I like it.
This won't be for a while, We'll see if it ever pans out. But yeah, the Coven of the COVID. I like it. So coming back to today, we have the new album, The Wrath of the Gods, of which we already put out the one single, Straight as the Crowbar Flies. But we will be putting out another single from it. I'm not sure what it will be, but as it stands, we're steamrolling with this recording. I mean, we've got tons and tons of rough mixes because we've got all the drum tracks and almost all the bass. And, Tom takes it. Tom is amazing. He takes a lot of time with his bass tracks, and he's recording them himself, much like Steely Dan.
Really?
Much like Steely Dan. So anyways, and Jimi Hendrix too. Remember Jimi Hendrix would for his sessions with Electric Ladyland record, he would wait till everybody was gone, and then he'd lower the lights, and he'd get real high, and he'd engineer and play and engineer and tape all over the room, and incense burning everywhere, and that's Tom.
Love it.
That's crazy because you got Doug Piercy in your band.
Doug Piercy has a studio too. See, they both have studios. Tom has the Subterranean Dog Funk studio where we definitely do all the drums and all the bass gets done there too. But then Dougie's got his studio, and they're both Pro Tools studios, right? And then up on the hill there in San Francisco, Dougie does all kinds of production with the layerings of the guitars, and he produces everything I do, so I really took it upon myself to write a really cool solo for The Wrath of the Gods, and I came in and I laid it down on him, and it was like some of the licks, it was like bam, it was like not some of the licks, like the solo was like the second or third take.
Wow.
But it was 2 guitars, I'm not gonna lie to you. I wrote a duet. But I played it myself. So it's like over here, and it sounds like Yes. When it begins my solo, the sound of the song "Wrath of the Gods" goes into the realm of roundabout. Yes. Weird.
Nice.
Weird. Yeah. It was just the progression of the notes, the way I'm climbing with the music. Total Steve Howe, man. But some of those licks were the first take.
Right. Well, it's been a while since the band has kind of, reformed, and I'm just kind of curious for you, what spearheaded you guys to actually make a new record finally after so many years of playing clubs and everything else?
Well, the reason we're doing an album now is because we built the 2 studios.
Got to test them out.
So we spent an arm and a leg on the EP, right? On the 4-song EP.
Awesome.
That was, it was good, but it wasn't quite this, not what we can do. So I mean, it was very good. Don't get me wrong. I love it. The Race with the Wizard, fantastic. But you see, with Andy on the drums now, everything has went up to a whole nother plateau. We're no longer just this kind of like medium tier thing here with Andy in the band. We went from being with, Doug and me and Tom. Wow, that's a big order right there. But with Andy, it takes a whole new dimension. It's like Andy is like the Neil Peart of thrash drums.
He's a legend.
However you
He's
say
a legend.
it. Yeah. How do you say Neil Peart? How do you pronounce Neil Peart's name?
I think it's Peart.
Peart, okay.
I know it's Gallion.
Oh, what's that?
Yes.
Yes. Blackie says yes. You're correct. Peart.
I was at
I'm not here to answer any questions I don't have the answers to.
Just make something up.
No. The guitar will answer.
Okay. But yeah, I was at Andy's 13th birthday party, Mark, at Ruthie's with Possessed, Hyrax, and Death Angel. It was the night Debbie got Possessed signed to Combat too.
Wow. Was I there too?
Probably. I know Hetfield was there.
Tell me the story again about when we went to the Violence thing, when Violence was recording their first demos.
The first demo we showed up, me and Mark, because I lived in Sonoma County, drove to Prairie Sun Recording Studios, where Doug Piercy also produced the Legacy Reign of Terror demo. Found that out. But we drove out to Prairie Sun, got drunk with the guys, we're hanging out, and we ended up doing backup gang vocals on the first Violence demo. Me and Jeremy did.
See, and now I remember being out there at Prairie Sun.
Because he mentioned it. I don't know where we were. I met you at Prairie Sun. I think it was at the Killing on Command thing.
Just recently I asked you something. You mentioned something about being Prairie Sun, and then I hit you up about it because in my mind I kept thinking it was Exodus's record, but that was upstairs when we were recording the Sane Asylum. Exodus was upstairs at Alpha and Omega recording Pleasures of the Flesh. Wow. And I got it all mixed up because we were with Violence at their studio at Prairie Sun singing backup. Yeah.
Well, that's because I got to go up there when Doug Piercy was recording the Legacy demo like 6 months before that, and I got to know Mookie and Muka and everybody. And whenever there's bands up there, we go up and hang out, party, because that's what it was. Because everybody stayed in a little house.
Oh yeah.
Now, obviously you mentioned Andy earlier. Can you give us the story of kind of how you guys connected and
what? Okay, so it all starts when Andy was about 13 years old, and I used to see him play with Death Angel. And whenever Andy was at Ruthie's, I was always got my eye on him because there's this little kid. And I'm making sure that nobody's messing with my Andy, And one day I'm going to play with this guy, man, because he is so good, And as it went through the years, there was never a time when I was looking for a drummer that I was smart enough to think of asking people that I knew from some of the bands that weren't together anymore, But what I did was I waited it out. At one point, I saw Andy for the first time in many years. Since the wreck, actually. I hadn't seen him since the wreck, man, and that was a long time ago. But anyways, I saw him out at Lennon's rehearsal studios. And Sire was still playing with Blind Illusion, man. I wanted so badly to say, hey, Andy, come and jam with Blind Illusion, because this drummer's not working out. But I didn't have the gumption to do it, and I felt like I was going to be asking him to leave his band, which was actually just the Butlers. And then, but as it turns out, Andy will play with a lot of people. You know, if you just set him up with some good music, he'll dig it. But he has joined Blind Illusion at this point. It was all unanimous. What happened was when he joined the Ghost Next Door, I was like, oh man, wow, I got to go see him play. And I went and saw him, and I love Andy. And when Gary Wynn came off the stage, I said, I hope you're fucking happy, man. Because I felt like he had my drummer, you know. He had the guy that I need, and I hope he's happy. And so I hung with Andy, and then I hung with Andy again out at when Andy's was jamming with the Kiss band, the Kiss tribute band Destroyer. They were opening for the Ancient Mariner, Tom's band, you know, our bassist band. And yeah, so we hung out that night, and I said to him right then and there, as he's getting ready to go on the stage in his Kiss makeup and everything, we'd been talking about doing something, and I just said right then and there, well, do you want to play on the next Blind Illusion album, Wrath of the Gods? And he says, yes, I do. And some cymbals that were way over in the corner dropped for about 5 feet, and kapoosh, boosh, and it was like, man, that was so heavy. So then after that, yeah, so, but what had happened, let me back up a little bit now.
Sure.
Prior to that, what happens is he's in Ghost Next Door, and I'm thinking, well, you know, Gary kind of mows through people a lot. He's played a lot of shows with us, and there's been a lot of different rhythm sections, same as Blind Illusion, you know. You play some pretty wild music, you got to have some really wild characters. So he's got some really good lineup now with Naya in the band, but check it out.
Well, I like Paula. He had Damien.
So come back. So here I am. I'm looking at the Facebook one day, and on it comes, it's like 9 a.m. Gary Went says, I'm looking, sorry to say, I'm looking for a new drummer and a bass player. And so I went right to Gary on this private message and says, what's Andy's number? He gave me Andy's number. I contacted Andy about 2 minutes before he learned he was out of the band. I mean, like 2 minutes after he had just learned he was not in the band, I'm calling him and I'm telling him, hey, brother, don't worry about it. We've got a place for you. You don't even have to audition. You're in the band. If you want to play with Blind Illusion, you just say so. And he was like, well, I kind of need some time. So I gave him some time. And then by the time we did the thing where at the Kiss thing and I asked him to play on the record, then there was that, right? Then it turned out that we give him the material, and then we just came out in full force and said, hey, man, we want you to join the band. So we're going to make it worth your deal. And we, you know, we do whatever we can for him, man. I mean, I don't want him to ever have to pay a dime for gas, you know.
Now, this is something I've been talking about a lot. Tanner will vouch for it. Have you noticed how all the legend, the good 80s Bay Area thrash bands have basically become little super groups?
Yeah, well, you know, that you can look at, well, I guess you can look at it like that. You know, what it is that we're all finding our way to each other through our affinity with music. So I kick myself in the ass for in 1990, me not contacting somebody like Paul Bostaph, you know, and say, you want to play for Blind Illusion? Way back when, right? Wasn't he in Forbidden?
Mm-hmm.
He was a drummer for Forbidden, right? See, so those kids were friends of ours, you know, and like we didn't play a bunch of shows, but when they asked us to come play with them, we supported them for their record release party. You know, they were one of Debbie's bands. And but a lot of people, I mean, actually, I did get together and jam with Tom Hunting at one point. But you know, the Biederman goes woo sometimes, and I was thinking, I was trying to put together a band that was Blind Illusion, but we had this black bass player who could do a bunch of less stuff and jazz, and he was bad. But Tom
can do that now.
Tom Hunting was singing and playing the drums.
Wow.
But it just didn't pan out. It didn't work out. And then he got back into Exodus, and yeah, right on, you know.
Hey, Tom's got a great singing voice.
He's a great singer. Back in the day, the early days of Exodus, Tom was singing all the songs, like TNT and High Voltage and Dirty Deeds, and even songs like ZZ Top, Tush, and they even did that song by the Babies, Me and Baby, we're going out tonight, head first. And I mean, that just goes to show you how good he can sing, was being able to do all
on
that.
the first 70,000 Tons of Metal cruise, they had, in the late night lounge, they had karaoke. And Tom Hunting and Will Carroll were the ones nailing all the good, like, 70s Motown.
Right.
Hey, let's go into some jams real quick, and then get back to some more storytelling.
Let's play the one you released this year, Mark. This
what
is I'm playing Straight as the Crowbar Flies.
Give it to me. That's the if I have my way, the only thing you'll hear from this day forth is new stuff with Andy. Bah!
On
Razor Radio.
All right, 3, 2, 1. All right, that was brand new Irish metal, Gamma Bomb, with what track did I play? I played Going Haywire, which is kind of what we're doing right now.
Absolutely. And, Mark, let me jump in here real quick. Yeah,
okay.
we're talking about, obviously, we're going back and forth between, when you guys started in the 80s or in the 70s and going on to the heyday of the thrash metal scene. I'm just kind of curious for you, why wasn't Blind Illusion, bigger, after the Sane Asylum kind of came out? Was it because it was just so different compared to your peers, and just you weren't doing a straight ahead kind of thrash metal record? You were introducing prog elements and other things. You just think it wasn't just ahead of its time in the Bay Area?
I think it was exactly where it needed to be. We just didn't have the management. If we had somebody like Debbie Abono working for us, we would have went a lot further. As it stood, the management that we had at that point in time was Kirk's brother and sister-in-law. And they did a great job until it all ran into the ground, But
I saw Judy in Santa Rosa at a Hellbender show, and I still talk to her all the time.
Oh, hell yeah. No, we're all great friends now, But anyway, so I think I blame it all on management, really, because, it's like if you don't have a good management team working for you from the gate, basically in 1979, Blind Illusion had a manager, Jack Pfeiffer, and he took us into the studio, and we recorded 10 songs live and then took 4 songs and redid them with overdubs. The reason for the live was because I didn't understand the whole purpose of overdubbing and things, and we were just now getting in the studio. They were trying to tell us we couldn't use a bass amp. They wanted us to run the bass direct, and then when we said okay, then they tried to tell us that we didn't know how to play our instruments because it was going clickety-click. Well, I was playing bass on Death is Grey, and so they were telling me that I had to relearn how to play my bass. Hey, I taught Les Claypool how to play the bass. Nobody's going to tell me how to play that fucking bass. And so I was like, all you have to do is run it through an amplifier and mic the amp. And so we made them do that, after I came back in and I told them, look, this is how we're going to do it. We're going to play all our whole set the way we play it live in the studio with our double bass. They tried to keep us from using a double bass drum. They tried to make me turn down my Marshall amps. And I finally just told them, hey, we'll do this like this, and then we'll do it your way. So what happens was Jack Pfeiffer never finished paying for the studio, so it never got mixed. Then all these years later in 2014, Harold O takes the tapes, all the whole Blind Illusion stack of tapes in, and has them put into Pro Tools discs. And so I took and I mixed that 1979 session, and it is coming out as Blind Illusion 1979. It should say that real big so nobody is confused. It's an old logo that Doug Piercy's dad gave me back in 1980.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Doug Piercy's dad when Anvil Chorus was still together, and Blind Illusion played with Anvil Chorus. Doug's dad calls a meeting together, and so I come out with my girlfriend, and I come out from Richmond to San Francisco to this really cool house. And Doug's dad had built these pods for Doug and his family for the rest of the kids, where they're in the room, but you go to get in bed, and it's a pod. It's a wooden shell. It opens up, and you go inside. So if it like got really cold or whatever, they weren't freezing. They were in their pod. But anyways, that was one cool thing I remember about his dad. He was a lawyer, but he presents me with this. So Doug's dad presents me with this logo. He says, "Here, I want to give you this. You know, this is for your band. You guys need a good, strong logo, but I want you guys to hang out with my son's band after you play at the Keystone." And we're like, "Hey, we love these guys. We're gonna hang out and everything's cool." But Doug's dad was doing this really great PR work, man. You know, way back when.
Well, plus he was an audiophile. Doug was talking about on Zet's show how they had reel-to-reels for all the music they had at the house and shit.
Well, so that brings me back to this 1979 thing. Yeah, we have the reel-to-reels, but now we get them transferred to discs so we can work with them. But Sire, our old drummer, has got the discs right now. I mean the not the discs. He's got the frickin' reel-to-reels, and he won't give them back.
I saw the packaging that you guys had online. Looks pretty
probably
cool.
shouldn't have said nothing about that live on the air, but
Well,
we can take it out for the radio show.
You know, moving forward, you know, with the I think what you're referencing is the Likewise sessions.
Yes.
I thought, and Andy had just brought this up as well a little bit earlier, was, you know, it's like a full length record of just all the demos. It's coming out, I guess, on CD or something.
No. 1979 is all one session, bro. It's all the Likewise session. The whole record is going to be one session, 1979. Then there's going to be another anthology session that'll be like 1980, 83.
Oh.
Then there'll be the 84, 86. Eventually, you're going to get the Medicine Show with the new Espionage and Hell stuff I did with John Bonham on the drums. That'll be out as one full record, I believe.
Cool.
Wow.
So, content for days.
Fucking that's Manos Koufakis from Greece, man.
Mm-hmm.
He can fuck us, but he's not gonna. He's gonna do us right. Manos Koufakis.
So what do you think that's going to be done?
So he's got two record companies. I forget, Sonic Age, I think, but ours is going to be on Cult Metal Classics Records out of Greece. He's the guy who, when Laurent Ram put out the Snakebite,
yeah.
Snake Pit. What is it?
Snake Pit.
Snake Pit is what. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Good God. Sorry, Lauren. Snake Pit magazine came out recently with 30 pages of Blind Illusion in it and a 45 on vinyl of The Watcher and Rockers Unite from 1979, the Likewise sessions. So that was just like, I told Lauren, you can do that. And then Manos did this. Yes, Manos did this great job with it. And so I'm going with Manos because it was so easy to work with the guys. Like, hey, they say they're going to do something, and bam, they got it done. You know, I didn't have anything to do with that except for giving them the permission. So now Manos is going to do the actual album, and it's got the dot drawing album cover from Alvin Petty.
Nice.
There was some controversy about the cover because at first Manos didn't think that it was completed or it didn't look dark enough, and I says no, that dot drawing is what it is. It is from 1979, so it goes with the music. That is what we used to represent ourselves as, was that dot drawing that Alvin Petty did
41 years ago.
So you're trying to, I like that you're trying to like make it a cohesive package, you know. Obviously I'm sensing like a box set or something with all this like cool stuff. You know, you got like the 70s era, the early 80s, I don't
know. At this point, it's all singularities because see what's going on is we don't have a record company. We are the record company at this point. We will decide what to do. We may go ahead and license it through somebody in Poland to do a run. So they do 2,000 copies and they put it out in Russia and Poland, okay? And then if they send us, but they have to send us 200 for every 1,000 they do. Now they can, I say it's like this, if they want 1,000 records, they get 1,000, but they have to make 200 more for us. So that way it's not, they don't get 800 and we get 200. They get a whole 1,000.
Makes sense.
I'm signing 10 deals if I have to get it worldwide without you having to go buy an import.
Interesting. Okay.
Plus you got distribution with the last time we had you on, Blood Feast.
But as we speak, we're doing it all ourselves right now. So we may go ahead and put out the Wrath of the Gods, the first pressing, just ourselves, you know, where we press 1,000 discs, you know, and then see who bites, see how fast they go. If they go really fast and it was not a pain in the ass, then maybe we will be the record company. Otherwise, I would prefer it not to be a pain in the ass and make it get everywhere without us having to ship it everywhere. I mean, I would really like some cats in Japan to go ahead and do their 2,000 copies there. So it's not being sent around the world. And that way they can afford to send us our 200 copies. They're like, bam, they're getting 1,000 copies. But we'll see how it goes. The record company, the record industry, the bubble has popped. You know, I mean, it's what it is today is if you're an internet sensation, man, you are going to be something overnight. Otherwise, you just keep going like this and like this. But through the internet and the media, we're getting our records out to people immediately, you know. It's amazing. As well, you know.
Absolutely. Well, Andy, let's go to some jams real quick.
Yeah.
Wait, all right. I got one more question. So your record's got to be put out by some like yourselves, and you'll distribute it through Blood Blast, right? Or are they just Huh?
I'm sorry. When I did that first interview with you, I was sadly mistaken. Blood Blast is not a record company. They are a streaming and only the streaming only. So what we need to do is, you're thinking realistically. We would like to have Century Media or Blood Blast. I mean, Nuclear Blast. Or, you know, some Roadrunner, Road Racer, whoever's out there doing metal today. You know, there's a bunch of them. But, you know, as it stands, we will go with somebody smaller. If we can't get on one of those bigger labels, I would prefer to just go with somebody that we know and love, like Jovita from Metal on Metal, you know. We know these people, you know. It's like, but we kind of shot ourselves in the foot when we signed this deal with Blood Blast, because now we don't have the streaming to offer the record label when they want to do the album. So, but, you know, we weren't ready to put the record out right away now anyway. So I like the time schedule we're on, because you see what it is we have studios. We have 2 studios. So we can record our album and take as much time as we want getting the right takes and the right sounds and the right vibe. And we're not paying a dime to some studio for an hour where it's like, hurry up. Oh my God, you broke a string. Now we got to take 20 minutes changing the strings. You know, no problem. No problem. We've got our Headley Grange, you know. And the funny thing is, what?
I said, it's cool. You could use that for your streaming, but you can also go with a boutique label and do the extra special vinyl and all that stuff. And
yeah. So what I'm saying is, we've got the deal now where we can just record and we can take our time, but we still got to be careful with signing with somebody, because we don't want them saying, you have to give us this record before Christmas. You know, hey, I want it done by Christmas, but it's got to be on our terms still. So we're probably going to put it out a run ourselves, and probably have somebody in Germany do a pressing too, for sure, right away, you know?
Very
so
cool.
You basically become Ernest and Julio Gallo. We will make no wine before it's time, right?
You got it, Rip Bottom. Do you know that when, before Jimi Hendrix died, he signed like 10 record deals. He had the same idea. He had the same idea because, you know, you're signing with one label, right? And then all of a sudden it's like everything's tied up in this label for your next 5 records, and you're screwed if they don't like what you're doing. So what he was going to do was sign one record with CBS, one record with Atlantic, one record with Warner Brothers, and then he died. You know, so we never got to see how that worked out. But basically, I'm doing that now by I have Cold Metal Classics in Greece doing the demos, and then whoever I get to put out the Wrath of the Gods record will be doing that. Who knows? We might even have Manos do it. He's so easy to work with, you know?
Totally.
Cool. Now, the Sex Pistols did that too, right at the end. They signed with like 5 fucking labels, took the advantage and never made shit.
EMI! EMI!
Right. Let's get into another track. You mentioned it earlier, Mark. This is the EP you guys did. This is Vengeance Is Mine, 2018 on
Razor Radio.
3, 2, 1. All right, that was Grand Massive with Devourer of Time right there on Razor Radio, and I got turned on to them by that guy in that box right there, Mark Biederman.
Yeah, that's my friend Jochen in Germany's band. Yeah, he has a record company called Daredevil, and they do a lot of that stoner metal, you know, and his band Grand Massive, they're a really good band, you know, and Jochen books Blind Illusion in Germany. He got us to the Storm Crusher Festival and a bunch of good gigs out there.
Right on.
Well, Mark, you know, where could people find a majority of you know, the Likewise sessions and anything Blind Illusion?
We got Bandcamp.
Well, on YouTube is everything. I made a promise to myself when I started making videos that I was going to make all the videos available to everybody for free on YouTube because of all the people who sent R&J Productions money back in the day, the J&R Productions. People sent money to them from overseas expecting to get a live video or something from Blind Illusion, and they never got it because I never even knew that money existed. They just took the money and ran with it. Well, God bless their little hearts. They took more than that. But nonetheless, YouTube is where everything really can be found, you know, to a certain degree. Maybe it's not the greatest quality, but I mean, there's stuff on there that I would like to have pulled off. But it lives there. It just lives there. I mean, stuff that like somebody put up, they called it like espionage instrumental or something. It's basically it's espionage in hell with just a guitar and a drum track and like not even the vocals, I don't think. And I mean, I couldn't believe that somebody leaked that onto the internet, but I had to let it go at that point in time because there was nothing else on there. And I was like, well, at least we got something to represent. But today, there's tons of stuff. I mean, every time I get a new old recording, like somebody lays something on to me, I try to do a video with it, you know? So like recently, I just put a thing on YouTube. I didn't promote it heavily because it's not today. I put it on as Blind L, not even Blind Illusion, even though the band played under the name Blind Illusion.
Was that in Sonoma?
This is Blind L in League with the Sun. So a whole different incarnate of Blind Illusion. What?
And then some of the River Theater shows.
What?
I was just saying
I found some River Theater stuff with Pat Woods on it, man.
Wow.
Remember Pat? You know Pat Woods, right?
Yeah. I remember you guys playing with Death Angel. You played with Possessed. You played with the bonus ones. That was a fun show.
Which one? The bonus ones and Discharge?
You played with Discharge. That was the only time because I was underage that I ever got up to the alcohol level at the Greenville River Theater. And I went to hundreds of shows out there. They were really strict about that. But the Discharge show you guys played, I got up there and they let me drink that night. I don't know why. Because I was with you guys.
Going off of your point, Mark, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask, what is going on with this new video that you're putting out. Can you give us any information on?
Okay, well, here's how's it go. So a big monkey wrench was thrown in the works recently because my man Ben Diamond from Violent Legacy, the drummer kid, he came down with COVID. So we had to put the project on hold. But I guarantee you it's going to happen because we've got 28 bands, including yours, Madros, right? For the movie, Death Noise, Volume 1, right. Bay Area and Beyond, Thrash Metal Scene Today. It might be a long name, but it's got to be descriptive, It's got to tell you what it is because all the other movies are a whole bunch of talk, and thank God for that. Thank God for Murder in the Front Row. Thank God for Poser in the Last Row. Thank God for Mayhem in the Balcony, and thank God for the Godfathers of Bay Area Metal, and thank God for all of those. But people are getting uptight. People are getting uptight about all this talk, and I'm not uptight. It's great movies. I love those movies. But what we're going to give them is just the bands of today, and some of them are from the yesteryear, like Mordred and whatnot, Heathen, Exodus, Blind Illusion. Going to be a bunch of us that were there back when and now today. But we're going to have bands like Violent Legacy, Plague, Incredulous, bands from all over the place, At War, from the old days. Man, I mean, tons of bands. Yeah.
No, but what was your initial concept for it?
Well, my initial concept was I had a really great recording of Blind Illusion from Belgium at when we played at the Negasonic. And I said, this, and even with Sire was on a good night that night. And I said, you know what? This is good enough to release. We should let this go, right? We should put this out. So instead of just putting out a Blind Illusion thing, I thought, man, I've always had this idea. Ron Quintana from KUSF is always trying to get me to write a book. Well, I'm kind of, like that's a little bit in depth and a lot of sit down for me. But this movie is kind of like my book, where it's like I just want to reveal today, the scene today, let you know that it's still alive. Because at the end of Murder in the Front Row, you get a message about whatever Metal Allegiance and whatever. That's fine, but it doesn't say anything about now today. The metal scene is still thriving with bands from yesteryear such as Heathen, Testament, Blind Illusion, Exodus. But now we have all these new bands like Violent Legacy and Plague and all these kids, So I want to represent the scene as it is today. And I'm not trying to take anything away from those movies that we were in. I want to ride the tails of them.
I love it.
Hot on the heels of Murder in the Front Row. Hot on the heels of the Bay Area Godfathers. Bam! Death Noise, Volume 1, And it'll be, every band in it gets a whole song. So it's like, hey, nobody's above anybody. Nobody, But yeah, the whole premise was I had a really good recording and I wanted to share it. But I decided I'd like to have my friends go out with me too,
Now,
plus, I heard you have a couple radio hosts that are going to introduce some bands.
Yeah, you guys are supposed to be doing the announcements, and I'm going to have Ron Quintana do one, and I'm going to have I want Todd Manny to do one, and but the last one will definitely be the Red Eye Diane the Great. She's going to announce the race with the wizard at the end. Yes.
Absolutely. Now, last question. Where?
But that's. I'm sorry, but that's not to say that I don't want your intros on those too.
Oh yeah,
because some of them I'm going to stack them so like you'll say the intro and then bam, and have me say it too, like Exodus. So what was your question?
Where for one, is this going to be a physical release? 2, where could people eventually find it when it is? And 3, when do you expect to have this out?
Well, Manos Koupakis from Cult Metal Classics says he will do it. But he wanted to wait until the beginning of next year because he's putting out the Blind Illusion 1979 record. And it's the funny thing is I actually got it mixed up when he contacted me and said, "Hey, I've got 1979 ready to go." And I'm like, "What?" Because I was thinking the whole thing was on hold. I forgot that it was one for the other. I've got a lot going on. But so that would be just know this. It's not going to be for another 6 months, you know.
Okay.
There's just no way. There's just no way because we still have to work. I'm hoping that Manos will really get into it because it is a really huge thing with all of these bands together. It's like the Eastern Front all over again.
Holy shit!
Bands from all over the world, you know, and not just thrash. It's got thrash and some doom metal, and you know. Like Witch Mountain, you know? I mean, come on. It's going to be some cool shit. But the thing is we just have to be diligent and put it out. What Manos said to me that scared me right off the bat, but I knew I was in good hands with him, was he said, I can't remember the word, but it was something to do with like, what about the video phasing? You know, it's like you're going to have 28 videos and you got to have some semblance through the thing, some continuity. So he's talking about taking each one and as it goes to the next one, making sure that they're mastered properly for the movie. And I'm like, at that point, I realized I was way in over my head. And that it's going to happen, but it's my baby, but it's going to take a brain surgeon to put it together for us.
Absolutely.
And so I thank you guys because without you, we wouldn't have any hope of having the intros and everything. So, you know, take your time, you know, we'll get it done. It's all about
6 months. Last time we had you on, we were just having you on the radio, on the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally.
Well, I'll tell you this. The minute that we get the next song done, because we're only going to have the equivalent of a single, which is 2 songs. So you got your Crowbar, and then maybe, I don't know which song we're going to release. I'm thinking Slow Death because it is an old composition. And that way we're not giving away too much, you know. But when this album comes out, oh, it's going to blow your mind.
We can't wait for it. You know, Mark, thanks so much for joining us. We greatly appreciate it.
And I'm going to end it with your girl here. And let's go ahead and end it with Race to the Wizard.
Okay.
Love it. You ready?
Stick around after Race to the Wizard, and you'll hear brand new Cro-Mags with their track 2020, which is a downer, all right. We love you, Mark.
Love you, man.
Thank you, guys.
Razor Radio.